get it started.
I know. Rushy kicked Winnie out of her bed.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. I'll give everyone a few minutes to kind of filter in. I'm Casey. I'm here with Base Paws, and I'm joined by Dr. Matt McGlasson and Dr. Melanie Goble. And we're here in honor of May being Mental Health Awareness Month. Thought it would be a great time to invite two incredible veterinary professionals on to kind of talk about how pets can improve our own mental health, what kind of mental health our pets have, and get some background being in the veterinary field during such a stressful time over the last couple of years, and many more. So Matt, I'd love for you to just kind of say hello, tell everyone who you are.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. My name's Matt McGlasson. I am a veterinarian. I've been practicing for about 18 years, I guess. So I'm currently Chief Medical Officer of Noah's Ark Animal Clinics. We're a 4-hospital practice in Greater Cincinnati. And I am also very active in organized veterinary medicine. So I'm on the KVMA board and do some things like that. I'm very active in mentoring new veterinarians. I do some speaking at conferences and things like that, where I like to talk about how you can find your happiness in veterinary medicine, how you can have a healthy culture at work, things like that. And a lot of you might recognize me from my ridiculous videos on TikTok and Instagram, where the stars are actually right back here. You can see them, where we have about almost 100,000 Instagram followers, and I think almost 500,000 TikTok followers. So they enjoy seeing. I throw a little bit of education in there, but mostly it's just ridiculous cat videos. We have 2 special needs cats back there, RuPaul and Rushy, who have 4 functioning legs between them. And then Winnie is the little dog next to them. So thank you for, please drop your IG and TikTok. Oh, I will. Don't worry. So yeah, so I throw some educational videos in there, but mostly the goal of what I like to do on social media is just celebrate the human-animal bond. There's a lot of negativity in the world right now, so we try and just have fun and make people smile.
And yes, we will absolutely send links to Matt's social media pages. Base Paws loves to repost them all the time. They laugh, they make us smile. It's exactly what we need. So if you recognize Matt from our social media page, welcome back. And Melanie, I'd love for you to say a couple words about yourself, as well as Not One More Vet. So I know a few people who are joining us today made donations to Not One More Vet. So it would be great to hear what those donations go towards.
Yeah, so I'm Dr. Melanie Goble. I'm a veterinarian out of Wisconsin, but I'm actually a relief veterinarian. So my job is to go to veterinary clinics and help out and give some relief to those veterinarians that need time off. My business name is actually Renewed Strength Veterinary Services, and my goal is to help other veterinarians restore and renew their own strength in mind, body, and soul. So that's what I do most of the time. And I am licensed in Wisconsin, Kentucky, Alaska, Michigan, Indiana, and Newfoundland, Canada. And then I also travel with groups like Christian Veterinary Missions, where I go to Mongolia and I train veterinarians there so that they can continue to provide really quality care to the clients there. And I'm also a founding board member of Not One More Vet. I have since retired because I had to take care of my own mental health and physical health. But Not One More Vet is a 501c3 nonprofit that is there to change the face of veterinary medicine and the face of veterinary wellness, or of mental wellness in veterinary medicine, for veterinarians as well as our support staff, our technicians, and in the long run, making life better for animals and for our clients. As for those of you that have donated to NAMV, thank you so much. The reason we actually became a nonprofit was because we knew that people needed help, not just in the mental health side of things and being able to talk about the highs and the lows of vet med, but as much as everybody thinks we make a ton of money, we don't. And we needed to have financial support for people that were in crisis. So we spend, I believe it's close to $250,000 a year right now on grants to veterinarians, technicians, and support staff that are in crisis. They may not have a home, they may not have food, they may not have transportation, or trying to get out of domestic violence situations. There's all sorts of stuff that we do. And that's just part of it. And then the education and our groups where people can talk about what's going on and how to help each other and really change the face of what we're doing in the world. So that is the short part. It's a very long explanation that doesn't even touch the surface, but that's what we do.
Thank you. And we are definitely going to touch more on this later in the webinar. We do want to encourage you guys to say hello in the chat, ask any questions that you have as we go along. We want to be interactive. We want to help, educate you guys on anything you want to know, whether it's about veterinarians, if it's about your own pet, let us know what you'd like to hear about. You brought up a great point, both of you, is that it's a very, very stressful time. It has been for a while, but I think probably most people in the world are feeling some kind of stress right now. And we know that a lot of pets have been adopted during the pandemic. So I'd love to hear from you two about kind of some of the ways that pets can be stress relievers for us. What kind of benefits do they have for their pet owners? And in the chat, please let us know if your pet has helped you during a stressful time. We'd love to hear.
I can start if you want.
Yeah.
I think for me, there's a lot of talk about, why did you become a vet? And you can give all these really cute answers, but I think everyone who chooses to go into veterinary medicine, whether you're an assistant or a technician or a CSR or a vet, groomers, it's because you really have a really deep appreciation for that human animal bond and what a relationship with a pet can do for you. And I think sometimes in the veterinary profession, we get so busy and we get so focused on running this and learning the newest technique to do this and all that, we kind of forget that it all basically comes back to the human animal bond. And like the reason that we're all here and the reason that we're working so hard and the reason we're doing this stressful job and doing this is because at the end of the day, in our hearts, we believe that like having guys like this in our lives really helps enrich our lives and fulfill our lives, and they just make our lives better. So just like a personal note, we grab Rue. A lot of you probably know Rue Paul. She's the biscuit queen from TikTok. But she came into my office. You can see her poor little back legs. That's how she was born. She can't use these little guys at all. But she came into my office as like a stray cat that someone took in and had kittens, and she was born like this. And I don't know what it was about her, but this was in the middle of COVID when I didn't need any more responsibility or anything like that. But my daughter, who just grabbed her, I've been wanting a kitten forever, and the people that brought her in were kind of not equipped to take care of all these special need kittens. So I said, I don't know why I said this, but I was like, I'll take her. And so she's been with us ever since. And I think like bringing her into our house was really, really valuable for our whole family. I know, with, my young daughter specifically, it was her birthday present. And it was hard for kids going through COVID, being in isolation and schools being shut down and all that. And like, this was her support. Like, this is what gave her a reason to get up every day and, take care of Rue. She needs extra help doing things. And, that relationship, just watching that, it kind of renewed in me like, oh my gosh, what we do every day is so important. And having pets in our lives like this is so important. So that's just a personal story. And I think everyone back here is like a rescue pet as well. So we've got a million of those stories, but I think, I could talk all day about this, but basically just celebrating that human animal bond. And there's study after study that shows, decreased rates of depression. And then you've got the physical side of things where decreased heart rate when you're with your pet, decreased blood pressure, decreased feelings of loneliness, gives you a reason to get up in the morning, all those types of things. So I think it's really hard to, quantify the value that pets, enrich our lives, but we all know it. And everyone who's on this webinar knows it. That's why they're on here. So.
That's great. And actually someone just typed in the chat that they were going through periods of insomnia, and their pet was there purring, providing emotional support. And I did read that, I guess, having a cat in your bed can help you sleep better. So I'm not sure if
my daughter would agree.
I would agree.
Except when she eats her hair. She has to sleep with the hat on every night. Yeah.
It's just a feature. It's a feature. But yeah, I think a lot of people in the chat are kind of saying the same thing, is that, having someone, especially a pet, who relies on you for care, you kind of have to form healthy habits to, keep them going, which in turn keeps you going. So Melanie, I don't know if you have any other personal experience to share with, a pet in your life, or any clients you see that, have expressed the same sentiment, but it seems like a lot of people in the chat feel the same way.
Yeah. So, my cat, I have I believe he's 12 or 13 years old, tuxedo cat. He was actually abandoned at the clinic I was working at the time. And he came in with a broken jaw and covered in fleas. And as I'm in the exam room, he just climbed onto my shoulder and just leaned into me. And I was like, okay, you're covered in fleas. I love you, but, and then when he was abandoned, the owner just never came back to get him. He came in for an exam and then left. And then every time he saw me, he would meow, but it sounded like he was saying mom. And every time he saw me, he was like, mom. And I was like, that's so funny. And I'm like, everybody, do you hear his meow? It's so funny. And they're like, yeah, he only has that meow when you're present. He has a completely normal cat meow with anyone else. And I was like, oh, well, I guess that means he's mine. And so he came home with me once he, got treated for fleas and got his vaccines and neutered and all of that. And he has definitely been there for me when everything has gone down in life. It's been a rough 10, 11 years that I've had him. And even when I was in COVID quarantine, I was in quarantine for 36 days. And at that point, we still weren't sure what the effect on cats were. So the first half, I was actually in a hotel because I had been traveling for work. And then I came home and I was in my room, and he would just cry outside of my door wanting to come in. And my husband was like, no, you can't go in there. We don't know if it's safe. And once he did, as soon as I was out of quarantine, he was attached to me. And, when I get home from work and I've had a long day, he just lays on my lap and just purrs. And I love it. I love him so much. That's my personal story. But yes, as far as clients go, I don't think I go an hour without someone telling me how much they love their pets and how important they are and how they've saved their lives, and how, I have to save them because they're holding that person's life together, which is another set of stressors that we'll talk about later. But animals see the best in us when we don't see the best in ourselves or each other. And cats keep us real. Okay? Cats are like, no, you're kind of a jerk today, but I still love you. and you can't go wrong with a cat.
I agree. I wish Rue was still here. She would like to meet. But someone actually brought something up. You said, your cat loves to purr on you. They said, can you explain if you know how a cat's purr can affect us?
Yeah, so there's actually been quite a few studies on it. I don't know how scientific most of those studies were, but they do see that the tone of the sonic frequency of the purr will change at different times, and different types of sonic purrs can have different effects. So there's some of them that are actually healing. So when cats are sick, they still purr, and that's part of their healing process. And so when you're sick and they're laying on you, or they're like right there, often that is them trying to help. But it does slow down our heart rates. It can help decrease our blood pressure. And then of course, cats and dogs are amazing in that this isn't about purring specifically, but I've had a number of patients that have, just kept nosing a person in a particular spot. And they finally went to the doctor, and the animal has sniffed out cancer, and they've been able to be diagnosed and treated before they would have been treated previously. So animals save our lives on a regular basis.
And my cat has the zoomies. I had to mute myself, but perfectly fitting. I think you brought up a great point when you were, separated from your cat. I think both pets and humans can feel separation anxiety, right?
Yes, they can. And cats are they're really hard to tell when they have separation anxiety, because cats don't often show their emotion. And when they're stressed, they tend to hide, or they tend to withdraw, or they become super clingy. It's like one or the other. There's no middle ground for cats. And so a lot of cats that do have separation anxiety often go undiagnosed, because owners don't even know what that looks like. And cats' behaviors are often misunderstood, because the things that we think of as stress are not necessarily stress for them. So one of my favorite things is animal behavior. That's another side of things. But if you're worried about that for your pet, then definitely speaking with your vet and potentially seeking out a veterinary behaviorist. That's what they do all day long, and they love it, and I love them.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know, with pet parents all starting to return to work, Matt, have you seen any clients that come in and, are worried about leaving their pet home after, being together for such a long amount of time?
Yeah, for sure. It's been a big problem. I think especially, the last 6 months or so, when more and more people are heading back to the office, and a lot of them adopted pets during COVID, for all the reasons we're talking about. They needed that support in their lives, and that brought joy to their lives. So they had this, I see it in dogs in my practice more than cats probably, that I recognize. But a lot of these, they came into their house as puppies, and they've been with the family 24/7. There's always somebody home with them. They're not getting out a lot and interacting with other people and having new experiences and being exposed to different people and different dogs. And then when the owner has to leave and go back to work and, put the dog in a crate or lock them in a room, it's completely out of the ordinary for them. So it's very stressful. So yeah, I definitely think in the last, 6 months, last year, probably really, we see a lot of separation anxiety. So trying to help people navigate through that, what they can do. It's a challenge, and it can be really hard, because, when you have all that anxiety, it can manifest as like, behaviors that aren't ideal for the family, destructive behaviors or aggression or all sorts of things like that can really interfere with that human animal bond that we're so passionate about protecting. So it's definitely a big problem right now.
Yeah. And I think, we might have dog and cat parents in the audience today. But, when you do start to leave home, maybe it is a puppy or a kitten who is very used to you being home all the time, like this one. What are kind of some go-to behaviors that you might notice? And do you have any, particular tips that can ease that separation anxiety? Anything people can do to prepare for that?
I'll let you answer that, Dr. Goble, because that's your thing.
Okay, so some of the easiest things are, before you need to be gone for a full day, is doing short excursions where you just step outside the door for 2 minutes and walk back in. Or like you literally walk out the door, close it, stand there, walk back in and just slowly work your way up. So once you get past like the 5 to 10 minute mark, they don't really notice much of a difference. But those that have severe anxiety, like they will stay anxious and panicking the entire time. So if you're noticing them having anxiety or panic when you're starting to leave, you need to do things to, one, make it less scary that you are leaving. And every family and every household is going to have a little bit different path of how it goes to desensitize for that. There are some medications that can help while you're training the brain to learn that someone leaving the house is not a life and death situation. But that is something you definitely would need to speak to your veterinarian about. And, having virtual absences as well, where you actually close the door to the bathroom when you take a shower or use the bathroom. And they can be separated for you for the couple minutes that it takes you to eliminate. You can, have certain treats that are really high value treats that they get when you're going to be out of their sight, and then you leave. And not making it a big production when you come home. Yes, come in, say hi, put your stuff down, do what you need to do, maybe go to the bathroom before you jump in and be like, oh my goodness, I've missed you so much, because that can reinforce some of this, oh my goodness, the world was coming to an end while you were gone. And having video recording what's going on in your home and what your pet is doing while you're gone. Because if they cry for 5 minutes and then they lay down, that's not a dog that has, or a cat that has extreme anxiety and separation anxiety. That just is oh, you're leaving, I'm sad. Okay, I'm fine. Just think of, dropping kids off at daycare. They cry until they play with their friends. So things like that are all basic things you can do. If you're finding that they're destroying things, that they're, crying or barking or whatever for hours on end, that needs a professional's intervention. That's not something you just deal with tricks off the internet.
That's fair. I love that you brought up the cameras. Someone in the chat, Alexandria, asked if FaceTiming your cat or using the Furbo to talk to them through the camera makes them happy or sad. Can you really tell?
It'll depend on the animal. I mean, I think some animals, they get it and they're fine. I mean, some animals, I had a cat growing up that would watch birds on TV and then would look on the other side of the TV wondering where they were going to come out. So, but some animals love watching TV. They might like hearing your voice. Some animals are comforted by a radio that's on, and maybe it's just maybe you just have a loop of your voice talking, and that might be fine for them. But you really don't know until you see how your individual animal responds.
We had one of the cameras for a while, and our cats seemed to be kind of like indifferent about it. Like we'd talk to them and they'd like kind of look at it, but I think they're like, oh, that's not really you, whatever, so I don't think they cared one way or the other, but they're all different. Yeah.
As long as it doesn't stress them out, I don't think it's a problem. But like if you're noticing they're getting like, oh my goodness, trying to eat the camera because they want to lick your face, then that's bad, because you don't want that as a foreign body.
You caught her.
Okay. So cute.
She's our shy cat. She was walking by and I was like, grab her.
Matt, do your cats miss you when you go to work?
I think so. They're always excited when I get back. But maybe that's just because they know I'm going to feed them. I'm not sure. But we have 3 cats. So we have this big like sunroom that we lock them in when we're gone. And it's just like bird feeders. So it's just like a cat's dream with cat towers and fountains and all that. So they've got it pretty good while we're gone as well. But yeah, they definitely get excited when we come home. Especially like the little one in the bed back there, Rushy. Do you want to grab her? Sorry, my daughter's just grabbing cats for me. She had a really hard start to life. She has 3 legs. I mean, this one doesn't really work. It's okay, Rushy. But she had a really hard start to life. She's actually from Dubai. Somebody found us on social media and asked if we would take her because they followed Rue. And so this kitty was shipped she was living like on scraps in a train station in Dubai, and ended up coming here with us. And she seems to get like really sad if we leave her, that type of thing. I think she's got some PTSD stuff going on. She doesn't like to be alone. So I think things like that are really important to her. I know, you can go. I've got cats everywhere in here.
We definitely have a lot of people in the chat who are agreeing with all of these sentiments. I know someone said, Bev said that they had to leave, but she has a registered therapy cat who visits a couple of different hospitals, which is really interesting. I know we see people ask, how their cat can become a registered therapy cat. I don't know if you guys have any experience with that, but just goes to show that they really do help us.
Yeah, I actually have a friend that one of her cats is a therapy cat. And they had to go through a bunch of training, and she has to do it. They have to do a lot of cleaning and vaccinations and regular stool checks to make sure there's no parasites. You always have to be careful because there are a lot of people with severe cat allergies. So dogs tend to be more of the therapy animals that are used. But they do exist. And generally you have to find an organization near you to go through the training. And most of the training is for you because cats are just going to cat. That's just what they're going to do. But making sure they don't freak out around noises and sounds and other people. Like my cat, horrible therapy cat for anyone other than myself. But they're amazing and I love them. Teach them to walk on a leash. I like that.
Yeah.
I
just call out Amber in the chat who says, my main goal for retirement is getting a small place with lots of land and having oodles of time to spend with my pets. And then she says in parentheses, oh, my husband too. Priorities.
I love that Megan asked if it's beneficial to have more than one cat together when they're left home alone. I know that, it definitely depends on your cat, not every cat wants a companion. But for those that do you find it beneficial for their companionship?
My cat's a single cat. I mean, he's like, no, I don't want any. That's like he's a single child. Like he doesn't want anyone else there. But some cats really enjoy it. So I recommend if you're getting kittens, for example, or if you're getting an adult, getting a bonded pair. So getting some that already like each other, because just like people, some cats just don't like another cat. They might like another cat just fine, but this cat maybe not. So
yeah, cats are really funny that way. Like certain cats will get along with other cats, but they hate, one. But we've always been real slow to introduce ours, and like always say, like, we're not sure if this is going to work first. We'll try it, but a lot of cats are like kind of solitary in their behavior. Even cats that live in the same house, like our one cat Trixie, she is fine to just hang out by herself, and she doesn't really interact with the other two that much unless we lock her in that room together. But that's okay. But yeah, it's real funny. Cats have such different personalities. Some of them are great with other cats, and some of them, like you said, Dr. Goble, do not want another cat in that house. And they're fine with just them and the people.
Yeah. And even within a group of cats, the interactions between them is different. Like in dogs, we think about how you have the hierarchy of, who's in charge and who's not, although the whole alpha structure, not a real thing. That's a whole nother topic. But you might have cat A that is, over cat B in the hierarchy, and then B is over C, but C is actually over A. And like, it's all individual relationships, not group relationship, which is completely different than if we think about dogs. And I mean, I think in some ways cats are a little bit more like people, where you have a group of friends and some friends get along and some friends don't. And, you have different relationships with each one.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. It's really interesting to see that. I think a lot of people in the chat, you can tell how much they love their pets because it's all about the pet. They're not even worried about their own, mental health right now. They're wondering what they can do for their pets. And I know a comment we get a lot is that people people feel stressed when they have to go to the vet. Their pet feels stressed when they have to go to the vet. And then they show up to you guys. So I'd love to talk about, how can we make this a better situation for everyone involved? Because we all have to go to the vet. And it shouldn't have to be, an anxiety inducing experience.
Mhm.
So what are your thoughts?
Dr. Goble is the expert on this, but I'll give my 2 cents. I think a lot of different things. I'm really, the way I think about veterinary medicine is very client focused. I always put myself in the position of a client. And I think because I've had personal experiences where, like when one of my cats is sick and I have to take them to my own clinic and I'm having, one of my coworkers, do diagnostics work on them, like I'm freaking out, and I'm probably a really difficult client at that moment because I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? And don't hold her like that. She doesn't like that, So I think, my one piece of advice to pet owners is just know that everyone, I've never met a veterinarian or a veterinary technician or a veterinary assistant who didn't choose that career because they genuinely cared about the pet. And just know that when you're coming to the vet, your pet is our biggest priority. So all we want is for your pet to get better. We're on the same team as you. We don't have any ulterior motives. We're not getting rich from this. We would have chosen another profession if it was about the money. We genuinely want to make sure we're not missing anything. We want to make sure we're treating your pet to the best of our ability to give them the best chance to get better, because we know how important they are to you because we have them ourselves. And then my one piece of advice to veterinary professionals is a lot of this can kind of seem routine to us. Like, I might see 25 sick pets in a day, so seeing another dog that's vomiting, I can see it after it's, this isn't a big deal. It's going to be okay. But to that pet owner, that is like the worst day of their week or the worst day of their month or the worst day of their year. Or if their pet's really sick, it might be the worst day of their life. So I have to remember that I'm the professional in that situation, and the person who's coming in with their pet is really nervous and they're really scared and they have a lot of anxiety because they don't want anything really bad to be wrong with this pet that's their family member. So I think we need to give pet owners a lot of grace, in that regard. Like, I understand this is stressful. I understand this is going to be an emotional time for you. But we still have to treat each other kindly and treat each other with respect. So that's my 2 cents. And Dr. Goble can probably say that much better.
Oh, you said it great. The things I would add is everybody, whether you're a client or the veterinary professional, take a deep breath. We're all stressed. I mean, vet med is really stressful right now. It's always has a level of stress anyway, but right now it's a lot harder for many, many reasons. And during COVID, I have been the doctor in the building during curbside. I have been the client in the parking lot during curbside. I have been the doctor in the room with clients. I have been the client in the room with the veterinary professional. I've been in all of these positions and none of them are easy. And, in some ways, I think it's harder being the doctor or being the doctor in the client seat because I know all the things that it could be. And so I don't take care of my own pets because of that. But one of the things I always tell clients is, especially when it's that vomiting dog or that anorexic cat that just won't eat, as Dr. Matt said, we see this all the time. And so I always say, let's do some diagnostics. Let's figure out what's going on. And right now I will do the worrying for you. And when it's time for you to worry, I will let you know. I know you're not going to stop worrying completely because that's your job as the pet parent. But I think we can get through this. And this is what we're looking at. And I try to just lay out that process of what's going to happen, because I think the hardest part is not knowing. I know I hate not knowing. I need to know everything. And So from my end, being able to try and help calm the client is helpful, but for the client to remember that you have to take a deep breath because your anxiety does feed into your pet's anxiety. So the more anxious you are, the more anxious they are going to be because they're picking up on you and you're the one that they know. And if you come in and you're like, hey, Dr. Melanie, it's so great to see you. And you treat me like you're excited to see me. And I treat you and your dog like I'm excited to see you or your cat or your hamster or guinea pig or rabbit or whatever. Then they're like, oh, I don't need to be worried. This is a safe person. And they can be excited to see me too. So really remembering that. And if you are getting angry about something, just talk to us and, try and be polite and, use kind words and don't threaten because that's not going to work. It's not going to get you better care faster. That's kind of the fastest way to get your pile for, results to get to the bottom of the stack. But if you're nice, you get put to the top of the list. That's a little secret that most veterinarians aren't going to tell you. But if you're nice, you're going to get some little extra credit there. So don't tell everyone I told you, please.
Well, shout out to both Rebecca and Sarah. These are two that I see that both said, what are some special ways that we can show our vet team that we appreciate them? What do you guys like from clients? Maybe it's just saying thank you or being polite. But is there anything, any tips you can give us as the pet parents coming to you to make sure that your experience is positive?
I would say at first, just to reiterate what Dr. Goble said, just like being kind and treating the staff with respect, and because they're really working hard every day to make sure your pets get taken care of every single day. And so just be kind to them. I think nothing rubs me the wrong way as a doctor as when a client seems okay and nice to me, but they get to the front desk and they're really rude to one of our CSRs or they're really rude to a technician. I mean, we just don't like that at all. So just be kind to everyone. There's lots of things you can do to show appreciation. I mean, a little handwritten note, I mean, that means so much to a staff. Telling the practice manager how awesome a certain technician was and calling them out, that's huge. I mean, these are little things that just take like 2 minutes. It's not a secret that everyone who works in vet hospitals really likes sweets. So dropping off, a cookie cake, or we have clients that'll just drop off a pizza for no reason, just to be nice. I mean, things like that are huge. And then the other thing I would say is, like, if you had a really awesome experience at your vet, everyone likes to go on social media and trash their vet when they don't like what happens. But most of the time people don't just say, hey, you know what, I went to, this animal clinic today and this technician was awesome, or this vet really took care of my baby. So stuff like that really means a lot.
That's a great point. I think it's must be a psychological thing, but we're more likely to leave bad reviews or, negative comments than we are to leave positive things because, we came, we had a great time, we went home, and now we don't have to think about it. But I guess that's a great thing for everyone to do after this webinar is if you have a wonderful vet, go shout them out, go leave them an awesome review. And now I know to bring a nice little card from my cat to my vet at our next appointment.
Yeah.
But they're really simple things that everyone can do. Just being kind is something that goes a long way, especially now. And I know, we started out the webinar talking about not one more vet, and we've kind of talked about, the stress of being a vet, especially now. But I guess for both of you, if you just want to share what the best part of being a vet is, and maybe something we don't actually know about being a vet that makes it a little tough sometimes.
Well, I think my favorite part about being a vet is when I have a win. And so when I get that weird, freaky diagnosis that like I've never heard of. Like not too long ago, I had a case where I diagnosed a dog with osteoma cutis, which when I mention it to my veterinary colleagues, they're like, what's that? I'm like, it's a progression of calcinosis cutis, but it like the skin just turns to bone. And like, it was super weird. And I'm like, this is weird. I don't know what to do. But then I got to talk to a dermatologist and a pathologist, well, a couple pathologists and a couple dermatologists and some internists, and really pull together all of this stuff because I've been a vet for 17 years and I'm still learning, and I love to learn. So having those wins where we get to figure something out and the animal survives, that's like the best part. But even those days when everything is falling apart and then a really sweet dog or cat or a puppy or kitten comes in and I get to just snuggle. I worked with this blue tick coonhound today that his name was Jesse, and he just kind of came up and he just laid his head on my shoulder and just leaned in. And like, I hadn't told anybody how much I needed that contact of unconditional love from a patient I had never met before. And I mean, those moments just blow my mind. It makes all the hard times okay. And then the hard times is when you do everything you can and you still don't win. I don't think people realize that in vet med or in human medicine, we're fighting death every day. And most of the time we get to win against death. And when death wins, sometimes it's because we're helping, because that's the way that we can provide relief. Euthanasia is not the hardest part of our job. It's the animal walking out without care that isn't going to be treated. That's what breaks my heart. That gets me every time.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things, not just for vets, but you see it with your staff as well. When there's a pet that comes in that you really, that you could make a really positive impact in that condition, or save that pet's life or treat, and the owners aren't able to do that because of financial or whatever the reason is. But I mean, those are really hard, because like, gosh, I could really do something about that, but I don't have the opportunity. That's really hard. You talked about your wins, and I think that's huge. At our clinic, I mean, it's one of my philosophies with our practices. Like, you have to celebrate your wins every single day, and that's not just for like veterinary medicine or your pets, but that's like everyone, just as a general. They've done studies on that, where if you just write down 3 positive things in a journal every night before you go to bed, if you just keep up that practice for 4 weeks, I mean, measurable levels. And they don't have to be, that I saved a life today. It can be something small, like I took a walk with my wife today, or I went to my son's soccer game today, or, I had a good day at work. I mean, it just has to be specific. But I think a lot of times in veterinary medicine, we're guilty of this. We're doing amazing, life-changing things every day, and we'll have 100 really positive visits, and then you'll have that one that one case that went wrong, or that one client that was upset and left a bad Yelp review, or whatever, and we tend to focus on that, and we forget about the 99 things that went awesome, and we just get hyper focused on that one negative thing. And so we're really intentional at our practices, where every day in our huddles, we have to call out like one win that happened that day. So it could be a pet that had parvo that went home yesterday, or a foreign body that we saved, or it could be something small. But I think celebrating those wins is huge, not just in veterinary medicine, but just everyone. Just like good things are happening every day. You just have to be really intentional, and you have to capture those.
Yeah, I think that's great advice for everyone. There's going to be something negative in every single day. And I know for me, if I was going to write down something positive, it probably would be about my pet. If, I had a hard day, but she came and snuggled in my lap, or, we're seeing in the chat that a lot of people really are comforted by that. And I think, you know, we do get lost in things that tomorrow won't matter. But we're all here because we have a pet that supports us. All the people here are supporting each other. So I think that's just great advice and something that we can all take away today, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I know that we're, you know, just about at time, but Matt or Melanie, if there's anything else you want to, you know, close with for the people who are still here. Thank you everyone who's stayed the whole time and engaged with us in the chat. It really means a lot to see, you know, over 200 people here watching live and listening and supporting each other. I think we've got Chicky there, right?
This is Chicky. And she wore her favorite shirt for this occasion. She picked it out.
Excellent.
That's incredible. Well, I do want to thank you both. This has been an awesome chat. We haven't really done anything like this for one of our webinars. And it's just been great to hear from you both, get some tips for our own pets who might be stressed. And we really appreciate it.
Yeah,
thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun. Such an important topic.
And for anyone watching, we will email out a recording just in case, you know, you want to share it with someone, or, you know, someone in the chat had to leave early. So thank you everyone for coming. Thank you both. And we will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.